Jesus does not excuse the storm. But can I tell you, Jesus usually escorts you into the storm.
He weeps with you. He walks with you. He gets angry with you. He feels what you feel. He said, I will, and he touched the man.
Leaving the crowds behind. I need to give you this point because some of you won't be able to make it past this moment if I don't give it to you. If you're gonna dwell in the deep, your boat is not built for everybody. Leaving the crowds, what did I say? Behind. The Bible says distinctly that other boats followed, but it said that the boat that Jesus had started them out on, everybody was not able to get on that boat. I bet there was a lot of people in the crowd that wanted to get on the boat when Jesus said, hey, I got a mission for us. Let's go to the other side. And literally they said they moved out, leaving the crowd behind. I keep saying leaving the crowd behind because I believe that God is asking some of you to do that very thing if you're going to dwell in the deep. Leave the crowd behind. Who is on your boat who's weighing you down? Everybody's not going to the deep with you. And you will delay your destination trying to bring a committee to what God called you to. Do you know where I would be right now if I waited for everybody that I thought was supposed to be with me to come with me on this journey? Do you know how many people would still be wandering and drifting if I needed the cosign of everybody else when I already had the cosign of heaven? Your boat is not built for everybody. And the most spiritual thing that you may do this year, because you're going to the deep, is delete them. I'm not talking about if you see them out, you don't say hello and be cordial. And I'm not talking about cancel culture. I'm talking about concentrated culture. Do you know that if you are distracted, you cannot reach your destiny in adequate time? And so what God is telling you right now is I don't want you to be into cancel culture. I need you to be in concentrated culture. Do you know when a horse, a thoroughbred, runs in the not Indy 500, what do they call it? The Preakness or the, what is it called? The Kentucky Derby. Those horses are worth millions and millions and millions of dollars. They have a $15 piece of equipment that they put on their eyes to allow the peripheral vision to be cut off so that they can be concentrated on their lane and the finish line. And I believe that in this year, God is asking us to be concentrated on our lane and the finish line. And that means that everybody can't get on the boat and go to the deep. Well, what do I do, Pastor Mike? I thought Bobo and them was gonna come with me. I thought Tremaine was gonna be able to make this trip. I already got a ring. I bought her a ring already, Pastor Mike. Are you asking me to get on this boat and go alone? Are you asking me to actually wait on you? Hello. Anybody out there? I will trust you. This sucks. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Catch a tiger by his toe. Miss Mary Mac, all dressed in black. Purified. I wanna be consumed. You came from heaven to earth to show me something Because the deep feels stupid. The deep doesn't have friends. The deep is calling me to be separate, consecrated, refined, sanctified. See, these are words in the Bible that we skip over. Like these are when we talk about the blessings, we talk about all that. But then when he says that he will be the one to take us through every storm of life. Can I ask you a question? Have you ever been in a storm before? When you were waiting on God, doing the thing he asked you to do, and then out of nowhere, a storm happens? Can I ask you this question? How many people, can we be honest? We're hot at this church, humble, open, and transparent. How many people in some area of your life are in a storm right now? Come on, hands lifted all over the world. You're in a storm right now. What happens when Mark 4:37 comes up? That I left the crowd, I decided to go to the deep, and this should be easy now because you are with me, right? And look what verse 37 is, the whole point of this message. But soon, a fierce storm came up. No, no, no. That's not possible. It's not possible that I obeyed God. It's not possible that the season was just calm. That's not possible that I trusted God, I gave him the crazy faith offering, I keep showing up. And then Jesus is the one that told me to go to the other side. He's the one that told me to move to Tulsa. He's the one that told me to go to that school. He's the one that told me. And then under Jesus's instructions, a fierce storm came. Has your life ever looked like a storm? Because right now, in many of your lives, that's what it feels like and that's what it sounds like. It sounds and feels like, how am I out here? And how I'm gonna do what God asked me to do? And what is going on in my life? And I'm out here and it's dark now. And I'm out here and there's nobody helping me. And I'm out here and I don't hear a word from God. What are you saying to me, Pastor Mike? Something you need to know if you're gonna dwell in the deep is the anchor does not excuse the storm. This is the lie that so many churches and people have told you for years, and I'm gonna shoot it to you straight. You can have Jesus and have a storm. It's better to see it coming than to allow yourself to be fooled and then walk away. The storm is coming whether you have Jesus or not. Your marriage will be tested whether you pray in tongues or not. Your children will have to be taught whether you fast or not. I feel God right now. You will have a challenge that you're gonna have to believe God for. Whether you read the word every day or not. I'm gonna keep the storm going. Because this is what many of your whole last year look like. And what we try to do is get down and make a better situation for ourselves. Let me roll my way into another school. Let me roll my way into a better relationship. Let me roll my way into a new church. You've been to 42 churches and the storm has not subsided. It might mean because God's trying to teach you something in the storm. I need to be even more transparent with you because I feel like many people have never done this for you, so I'm gonna do it for you. Jesus does not excuse the storm. But can I tell you, Jesus usually escorts you into the storm. God, hold on, God, I thought you was doing something. I thought you was, hold on, no, I'm in the middle. Hold on, no, I'm in the middle. How do I get out of? I'm your anchor. Trust and know that I am God. Be still and wait on me. God, I can't see daylight. I don't understand why you didn't just tell me to stay on the shore. Because God said the blessing's in the deep. Can I prove it to you? Jesus, after he was baptized in water, what ended up happening is that God came down and said, this is my son in whom I'm well pleased. And then guess what happened? He was led by the Holy Spirit into the wilderness. He was escorted by God. Some of y'all been calling your storm a devastation. And God said that this is just the destination that I have to create in you. Oh, I feel this thing. The character, the stamina, the wherewithal, the stick-to-itiveness that you need to be everything I've called you to. And right now, I bet on day 21, Jesus was like, yo, is the storm over yet? And I bet on day 31, he said, is the storm over yet? And some of you have been living in this place in your life. Is the storm over yet? Is the storm going to subside? And for some reason, God doesn't take you out of the storm. He sustains you in the middle of it. I'm trying to show you a practical example of what having an anchor does. And can I tell you something? If you're going to dwell in the deep, listen and write this point down. The deep is not for devastation. It's for preparation. The darkest and deepest places of my life have prepared me for the greatest victories of my life. I remember when me and Natalie had good credit and we were in a place to be able to buy our first home. And it was sunny sky everywhere. And we got hooked up with a bad contractor. And what ended up happening is we found ourselves in the smack dab middle of a storm. And for 3 years, my credit went down. We were drained of tens of thousands of dollars. Nobody knew Pastor Mike. I didn't have no books. I didn't have no nothing. I felt like every day God was letting the storm continue to pound on my life. And I was like, God, why? I'm praying, I'm fasting, I'm giving, I'm serving the youth, I'm serving Bishop. And God said, this is not a place of devastation. This is a place of preparation. It was in those moments that I learned the tools and the trades that I needed to be able to purchase the Spirit Bank Event Center that we sit in right now. He knew that if I went through the storm in a season where it was inconsequential, that he would sustain me and I would come out better. And at the other side, it would be the very thing I needed to reach purpose. Maybe you need to rename your storm. Yeah, it sucks, but this is going to be sanctifying. Yeah, it's hard, but somehow healing's coming out of this.
Isn't it terrible when something takes over your life to the point where it seems to overshadow all the good things about you and now all you're known by is your issues? Isn't it a horrible thing when you go to try to think about something good, but all of the issues of everything that is wrong clouds out all the things that are right? It's a horrible thing to be known by your issues. And some people will define you by your issues to hide the fact that they don't have issues. They have a whole subscription. Little dad jokes in my sermon just to lighten the mood. It's a horrible thing to be known by your issues and to have your issue come into the room before you do. That's what it was like to be a leper. If you were a leper, you were required by law to walk into a space where you were intending to get in the distance or vicinity of anyone who was not a leper. You could live in a leper colony. You could live with other people who had the same skin condition as you, but you were confined to that place. If you wanted to come out of that place, you had to say this at least 2 times, unclean, unclean. You don't get to announce yourself by your name. You don't get to announce yourself by the fact that you have a good heart. How lonely would it be if you were only known by your issue and nobody really ever saw the real you? Now there's a contrast here. Jesus was becoming known by his gift. The man was known by his issue. I've met a lot of famous people who are known by their gift, but they are never accepted for their personhood. So they are lonely because they are only known for what they do, not who they are. Jesus resisted that. But here comes a man who's willing to say, I gotta press past my issue. I want to be touched. I want to be known. I want to feel again. I don't want to live like this on the outside. I don't want to have to scream every time I walk in a room, unclean. Unclean.
Listen.
Unclean. Unclean. What if you had to announce in the chat what you struggle with to keep streaming this sermon? Would you stay? What if y'all had to come in here today and before they let you in to record this worship, they didn't just take your temperature with that little gun they put and tested your temperature? What if they put a little thermometer to see what was your biggest temptation that you gave into last week? Would you come in? If they could scan you for that, would you come in? Elijah was asking me the other day, if every thought that you had went on the screen during worship, like the lyrics to the song, would you still have a job? I said, nope. I wouldn't have any friends. I wouldn't have a job. I wouldn't have anything. I said, how about you? Would you have any friends? Would you put it on the screen? He said, nope. I said, what would come on the screen if we could see your thoughts? He said, I'm not telling you. I said, I'm not telling you either. And we just kept moving right along. But Jesus, when the man came to him, y'all think this is dangerous because we're supposed to be social distancing, punishable by death. Here comes this man who all of his life has had to walk around identified by his issue. Or maybe it wasn't all his life. Maybe it's more recent. Nobody really knows. See, when you got a spot on your skin as a leper, you had to come to the priest, the sons of Aaron, and you had to show them the spot that was developing on your skin. And when you showed them the spot that was developing on your skin, if it was just on the skin, that was a scab. And if it was just a scab, then you could stay integrated into society. But if it had gotten into the skin, or if the coloration continued to spread all across your skin, then they would confine you for 7 days and check you out again. So when this man first saw a spot, maybe it was something he could cover up for a little while, because you know how it is. When something first starts in your life, you could cover it up for a little while and transfer something, checking in savings and Peter and Paul and all of that, and not really have to identify it. But the thing about it is, eventually it had spread to the point where the man could no longer cover it and live normally, because it began to cover more and more of his skin, until the point where it had spread so far on his skin that it had pushed him out of the spaces where people tended to live. And I thought that this might be for some of us how shame operates.
Help us.
For a lot of us, what keeps us isolated isn't something on our skin. It's something in our souls. When I was reading about the leper coming to Jesus, I started to see myself. See, my spots aren't on my skin. My spots aren't visible to you. It might be better if they were, because usually we address what others can see. So we get really good at fixing stuff. Whether it's a hairline, whether it's an external cosmetic sequence of events that are designed to restore your youth, or whether it's a way that you dress to impress people, we're usually pretty good at covering up the outside stuff. But what do you do when the spots aren't on your skin, rather they're on your soul? This man broke through shame. This man broke through excuses. This man broke through tradition and came all the way to Jesus and fell down at his feet and said, if you are willing, you can heal me. Now, a surface reading of this text, let me teach. Y'all make me feel like I got to close right now, and I don't want to close. In this text, we know too much. We know that Jesus ends up healing the man and goes on to have a great ministry. But if you put yourself in the original context, this is not only a risky move for the leper, it's a risky move for Jesus. And I want to make sure we understand why, because this is really going to help somebody. The Levitical law prescribed that not only should the leper stay away, but if a priest touched something that is deemed unclean, then the clean becomes unclean. Essentially, the leper is saying to Jesus, if you are willing to be dirty by association with me, it's going to cost you. But if you are willing, see, he's not just moving this man out of the way to get to something more important. Remember what he just said, let's do what we came to do. So this is not an interruption. This is the assignment. This is not an interruption. This is the assignment. Sometimes we get confused and we start pushing away the very thing that God brought to us that we could do the thing that we came to do. So we're pushing to the side the very thing that is our purpose. But Jesus said, this is what I came for. I am willing, be clean. I speak that over every shameful heart today. Be clean. I speak that over every sorrowful past today. Be clean, be healed, be washed, be sprinkled with the water of this word, be clean. But Jesus didn't just speak it. See, he could have healed him just with a word. He did it for the official son. He sent his word and healed him. Jesus didn't even have to be in the same neighborhood to heal him. He could have spoken to the leprosy, but he didn't just want to speak it, he wanted to show it. And he did something so dramatic. He did something so costly. He did something so dangerous. Hear me today. I don't know who this is for. You've been in a lonely place. It's a lonely place. Not just a little bored, a lonely place. A lonely place. You think this message is just for single people? It's not. I think it's the loneliest thing in the world to have people around you, but you can't really touch them and connect with them for who you really are because you just keep trying to give them who you think you're supposed to be. That's a lonely place. You think I'm talking about people who don't have followers on Instagram? I'm not. I think we all have spots. I think we all have spots. I used to not think that. I used to think certain people didn't. I used to be embarrassed because I thought I was the weird one. But I think we all have spots. I think we all have insecurities. We don't wear them on the outside so the priest can't see them. We don't wear them on the outside so sometimes even the people who love us can't see what we really wrestle with. We all have spots. And now here you are in a pandemic and you can't even come to church like you used to. That used to be the one time every week where you could get around other people and sing and let somebody's faith carry you. And now you're even having to have church in your lonely place. But God gave me a word for you today in the lonely place. He said, I will I will. And then he did. He didn't just speak it. He didn't just say it. He demonstrated it. Be clean. And put the verse on the screen if you can. And he touched the man. Remember what I told you? If the clean touches the unclean, what did I say? That the clean becomes unclean? But this is not just any priest. We don't come to a high priest who is unable to be touched by the feeling of our infirmity. One of the first things that leprosy would attack was your ability to feel. One of the first indications that you had leprosy wasn't on your skin. It was the fact that you lost the ability to feel. It's a bacterial infection that touches the nerve system. So now this man who is unable to feel is being touched by a priest who is feeling for him. Splagnitsamai, the Bible says. Jesus felt for him. He feels for you. He sympathizes with you. He sits with you. He lives with you. He weeps with you. He walks with you. He gets angry with you. He feels what you feel. He said, I will, and he touched the man. Now here's the interesting thing about the text. We expect now that Jesus, the great high priest, becomes unclean and is disqualified because he touched something that was defiled. But since this isn't just any priest, since this priest does not originate from men, since this priest did not come from earth, since this priest is without sin, the spotless Lamb of God, since this is not just any priest, when the unclean touches the clean does not become unclean. The unclean becomes clean. And immediately that man's leprosy fell off. And immediately shame is broken off your life. And immediately what used to hold you doesn't hold you anymore. Give God praise if you know. Touch them, God. Touch them, God. They've been in a lonely place, God. They don't even like themselves anymore, but touch them, God. They're so sick of this, God, but touch them. They're wondering how much longer. God, will my kids ever go back to school? Will I ever be able to go out again? Touch them like you touched that man. Touch them beyond the issues that they face and remind them that you came to touch what others would push away. And you are not intimidated by our spots. Oh God, whatever's been keeping them at a distance, I pray that they would have the courage to come close to you today.